Hey everybody, welcome to Super Heru Radio. I'm your host, Heru, along with my co-host, Melina the Empress 3,000 years.
What up? Hi y'all. What up? Hi y'all.
Amor, and our little black cat, Iwas. We just want to say peace to everybody, and hope everybody's week has been okay. Very, very trying, but as you know, all things worth the wait is eventually worth waiting for. So inshallah, I hope, God forbid anybody who lost anybody this month or this year or whatever, this past week. You know what I mean? We did lose, we didn't lose her. She passed away. Well, it's like it's whack nowadays. You don't even know if people just dying from natural causes or from, the unnatural causes that so many have afflicted our people, especially our luminaries of music. People like Queen Etta James, you know what I mean, who passed to the essence, who right before she died really went in on Beyonce again. Really was putting it out there like, Obama was really on some other shit. Instead of having her come through, he basically was on some follow fashion shit, and now he decided to use Beyonce to sing the inaugural and all that other stuff. Basically, she really didn't have a good taste in her mouth with Beyonce, or her mom for that matter. But specifically speaking, these are people who, for whatever reason, have been chosen to be the pseudo-luminaries in our communities as well as the so-called world. So you know how it is. Niggas be hating, A lot of that hate will be predicated upon being chosen for certain rituals, One of the biggest rituals recently going on right now is this whole thing, the ritual of all of these children being sodomized and raped and killed in the country, man. And now it seems that they've been successful into exporting elements of that into our community. You know what I mean? It used to be very rare or very here and there that there would be instances of rape, but for the past couple of years, they've been really amping up the whole child abuse, sexual abuse thing that's going on in the community, specifically amongst our people, especially on black people. One of the most horrible and horrific movies that kind of went into this is this movie called The Strange Life of the Joneses, or The Strange Something of Joneses, about the young black male who was in love with his father and used to masturbate to his father's picture and all this other stuff. This is all to put everybody on the same page, because we as original people don't realize that integration basically hooked it up so that way everybody had to be brought under the same vein. Once we decided that we needed equal rights, meaning to be equal to somebody who in a sense was less. Think about that. We wanted to prove an instance of being equal to a people who are already showing us how malefic and barbaric they were. So when we said that we want to have equal rights, you have to understand these are blanket terms when you're dealing with government. When you're dealing with government, you have to be so succinct. You have to be so direct in what it is you want your communication to be, because if you're not, they're going to take it and run with it. So they created a document they refer to as the Trading with the Enemy Act, of which it listed everyone it listed the enemy of the United States as anyone who is not in the United States government. This is what basically laid the groundwork and the prerequisite for all of the things that they're doing now to take your rights while they acting like they're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So this is when we have to come in and do the due diligence and do the knowledge to what exactly is going on in this situation. You know what I'm saying? So the situation happens in which we then become almost the conscious aspect of this communication. So what I'm saying is that those of us who are conscious are also aware. Those of us who are aware, then that means that we know better. So that means that we're in situations where we sometimes be around low vibrational energy or energy that's not conducive to ours. God forbid if shit goes down, when it does go down, you can't blame the 85 because in that instance, you know better. You know that these people don't necessarily have the betterment of you in their minds. But for some reason recently, I guess maybe since 2000, there's been a thing where people are willing to put up with shit just to get paid. It used to be that people had a certain degree of integrity in that regards to who or what, regards to what this dude say he would buy you, unless he did buy you something, then it's not happening, you know. But it's like somewhere along the line, people decided that they wanted to fall asleep and listen to the dream. And whatever the dream is telling them they're going to get, that's what they would feel is going to manifest. But we know that that's not actual and that's not real. So this brings us back to the situation where we are now, which everybody feels like they got to be the ones to kind of like bring everybody up. But at this stage in the game, your nationality and your nation is indicative to those people who are on that vibration with you. You know? It's not like we have an all-inclusive black thing where everybody's like, yo, let's all get together and we're going to rock like this. We don't kind of roll like that. We haven't rolled like that since the end of the civil rights era. And I keep bringing that up because that was the era when a lot of things went south for us, man. It's no coincidence that by the early 70s, everybody who was major in the beginning of the 60s was dead. That ain't no coincidence. And it's no coincidence that every murder that is done by one of these agencies or peoples or whatever is never solved. But then again, they'll have a murder that happens in the hood over $5 and they'll find everybody involved. That's why I tell people, if you want to get away with a murder, then the only way you could do that is if you kill a rapper, because they don't solve rap murders. You know what I'm saying? They don't solve rap murders. Going all the way back to Scott LaRock, yo. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that. What they do is create a hip-hop police force that is basically an intelligence agency trained by ex-Krav Maga, Mossad people that actually have a contingent that's hooked up in the epicenter in New York. There's a book that's out that has the picture of almost every rapper that has ever put out a record that was created by, I think it was created in New York. And it was circulated around when they first created the hip-hop police thing or whatever. And then in the interim or the process of that, somehow or another Florida wanted to get a copy of that. And they mailed the whole book to Florida. Now, this book is about the size of a Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. That's how big this book is. And now the police force, when we went downtown today to try to get a copy of it, you know what I'm saying, just to, you know, see what it is or whatever, and they fronted like they wasn't it. They fronted like they didn't know what we was talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of our fair-skinned, or let's say Caucasian supporters of Super Heru to go in there and ask them and see if they give them the same answer. You know what I'm saying? Because I know they got it. And literally everybody's in it. You know what I'm saying? They got everybody in it. The thing about it is, if you put out a record, what we don't know is that there is an intersection where the record companies, the police, the corporate record companies, the police, and the criminal courts intersect. There is a connection with all of them. This is why you'll see that they'll have a hip-hop police, but they don't have no rap police. They don't have reggae police. They don't have opera police. And say, oh, we need the hip-hop police because the rappers are so violent. Really? Well, I ain't seen a rapper yet that's more violent than the police themselves. You know what I'm saying? So until I do, you know what I mean, you know, all of that is BS. The other aspect of this is the fact that all of us, whether you know it or not, you have a criminal record. Not because you're a criminal, whether or not you've been arrested or not, but what we don't know is that since the voting scam of 1999, when they got your boy up in there, they created a fictitious voting roll that basically said that anybody who is voting, peoples names who get signed up for voting registration also get their name added to potential, what they call potential criminal list. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, since 9/11, the operative form of governance that this government has been using has been that of preemptive strikes, meaning that we are going to preemptively jump into a situation or a country or a nation or a people, kill them just in case or right before they kill us. Because either we feel they're going to do that, or we got when we're going to do that, or we don't even know. We know they're not going to do that. We're just going to do that to them regardless and use that as an excuse. Don't believe me? Look at what happened in Iraq. Look at what's about to happen in Nigeria right now. And now the Nigeria thing is basically spilled over into them now talking about gearing up to deal with Ghana. Because a lot of the rebels and the so-called insurgents that they're trying to hype up out there, some of them are actually of Ghanaian descent. Because, see, the thing with Ghana is Ghana has a great relationship with China. You know what I mean? A great relationship with them, allegedly. So that means that every time the United States try to flip on an African nation, thereby flipping on China by proxy, this is them putting another bullet in the gun, preparing for the ultimate fight or showdown between them and the United States. Now, we talk about World War II sometimes and World War I sometimes on this because, unfortunately, based upon the time matrix that these people have inflicted on this reality, that is a cyclical time in which is directly affecting everything now in terms of how these American people or people who perceive themselves American are running this country. It's all predicated upon what was laid down during the initial armistice between the Axis and the Allies. Because allegedly what was going down was that there was a guy named Rudolf Hess who somewhere towards the end of the war wanted to create and have a meeting with Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill basically went to him or allowed him to fly out of Germany in a Cessna and wound up losing fuel and landed somewhere in the English countryside. Allegedly what was going on was that he was there on behalf of Hitler, and what Hitler wanted to do was broker a peace between between Germany and Russia and the UK, England specifically. They were going to have the peace treaty in France, and they were going to try to work this thing out. So that way, by the time Russia, this is all to beat Russia from invading Berlin, because the Russians had a real edge on to get in Berlin and kill as many Nazis as they can, due to the fact that the Nazis killed at least 1.2 million people when they invaded, right? So what winds up happening is that allegedly Rudolf Hess, on behalf of Hitler, which is probably not true, but who knows, decided that he was going to go broke for peace, so that way the United States, Britain, Germany, and somebody else was down with them. United States, Britain, Germany, and I think China was down with them at the time. All of them was going to agree to basically unify, and then when the United States started marching on Germany through the Battle of Normandy, they basically wanted to keep going all the way up to Russia and basically lock Russia down. But the Russians caught wind of what was going on or whatever, and they torpedoed that plan. And from that point, 1949, is when the official Cold War starts. So halfway through the whole shit, the United States, because remember, prior to the war, the United States and Russia was friends. They was all working together. And so was Germany and the United States. The United States really didn't get into it for Germany. They got into it with Japan. But the nuke allegedly was built for Germany, but instead of dropping it on Germany, they dropped it on Japan because they didn't want to drop it on Caucasian people. Same nuke they dropped on Japan, they could have dropped in Germany, but they didn't. but they didn't. Instead, they bombed the hell out of Europe and then put the Japanese back, or tried to push them back 2 generations. Because what I think is that they didn't want to drop no bombs in no white folk. White men didn't want to do that to his own people, even though they had been killing their people for however many years the war was going on up to then. What do they say? War makes or creates strange bedfellows. But when we look back into the history of how a lot of these nations post-World War II started to come into existence, we see that most of them are funded by the same people. Because a lot of these places were not officially countries then. There's a book that everybody can get called How Wall Street Created a Nation by a guy named Espino. And it's all about what's his name? It's all about J.P. Morgan, Roosevelt, and the Astors who pulled out as to why they killed them on the Titanic, and how they decided to take over Panama in response to the fact that they needed to find another way to bring not only more imports up, but more Nazis and them up after the war, because this was all allegedly preordained for them, because this is, again, how they run their society. Technology or technological advancements in Western society are usually 40 to 60 years ahead, 40 to 60 years ahead of any of the stuff that they put out. So by the time we see an iPhone, you got to understand that iPhone is basically like 40 years old. They got something that's on the next level of that. But that stuff can only rise as much as the technology allows itself to. Because all technology, no matter how extensive, essentially is on the road to obsoletism, especially if it's inorganic. Organic technology is something totally different, you know what I'm saying? But when we get into that, that's something else. I'll get into that a little later. But organic technology is basically life. Life runs on an organic, I would say, spectronomical level. So there's always something to balance out something else. So in the times of great wars and stuff like that, like they said in Kill Bill, when these people would fight on hills and do certain things like that and get caught up, all of the blood and the guts and all of that stuff would run downhill and get into the stream where it would start to interact with the minerals and enzymes and all that of the rocks and the dirt and all of that, which would form a sort of almost like a soapy discharge, in which ancient people used to use elements of that as soap. Same thing with the glycerin. People would render fat to such a degree that the excess fat, like when we was doing the whale thing, people was whaling, they would use the blubber and the excess fat to basically fuel lamps. You understand? Create heat, fire, and stuff like that. So it used to be in the old nature system, in the original status, everything was basically used and given thanks for. So you kill the whale, you kill the food or whatever, but you thank it. And in you thanking it, you're sending the animal to a higher birth. Whereas Western society is about waste management. You know what I'm saying? Western society is about slaughterhouses. And according to the slaughterhouse cases, for those Moors and those original people who study law or ever looked into law determination, the slaughterhouse cases basically was a veiled pretense to define 14th Amendment citizens, specifically 3/5 of original people, as animals, thereby being allowed to be slaughtered this again was a leftover determination, or was kind of expanded from the determination put forth in the Dred Scott case. Omar told me that the real significance of the Dred Scott case was that Dred Scott was actually Benjamin Bay's son, who was kidnapped and brought to the other side of the Blue Nile, which is the Mississippi. And in the process of that, he was miseducated, negroed up, and then was, in a sense, put in a situation where they could use him symbolically as a ritual to offset everybody else from getting back to the status that we had prior to 1791. I'm still trying to verify this in terms of historical documentation, but I heard this from like two different people who were elders and also fellow researchers, so I'm still trying to do it now to it myself. So if anybody got the knowledge on that or has evidence of that or whatever, please holler at me. I would love to see it. But it's not so far to the realm of possibility. You know what I'm saying? Jeremy, so. But Jeffrey or Jeremy. You know? So there's different aspects is basically what we're saying, you know? Like when we look, like I said, if you want to look into where the specific instances of nationality suppression comes into play, you can look into the commission appointing Etienne de Caille. How would you say that in French? Caille or Caille. So you would spell it Etienne, de, D-E, last name Caille. He was the French merchant who acted as a consul for those nations without consuls. You understand? So for nations that didn't have consuls, meaning places where there would be a representative of a sovereign form of government of an indigenous or ruling imperial people, this guy was the Dey who is put in as the context for you to deal with. This is going back to the place that they now call Morocco, which is actually half the United States as well as what they call North Africa. So he, on November 1st, 1779, on the second page of the actual appointment of him to become consul, basically he was the agent that was used to start to suppress the nationality in terms of applying the dominion in terms of the switchover from the Moors and the Negroes. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. Also, there was correspondence between a guy named Stephen de Aubert. You would spell it Aubibert, I think his name was. And he was a guy at Salé. Salé was the slave port where we were selling the so-called Christian slaves in mass. This was written in the records of the Salé Records House over there in Morocco on April 21st, 1780. So you check that out. Also, Sidi Mohammed, who was the great governor of the world, was the guy that George Washington wrote to in the letter when he said that this thing would be looked at as the great governor of the world. But most American, quote-unquote, scholars at the time were basically putting it out there that American historians would say that the great governor of the world is basically another way of saying God, which is true, but not God in terms of the ultimate creator. We're talking about government ordinance descent and the jurisdictional powers that was over them at the time that they declared their allegiance to the ways of our old forefathers, in which they could return to the roots of theirs by fighting for their freedom against elements within our empire who were dealing with slavery en masse. That's why slavery never really ended like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in some ways it's more harsh now because it's not so open in the open. You know, a sweatshop, forced prostitution, all of this falls under the guise of what they refer to as white slavery. But slavery, they want to switch that to human trafficking because they want to make it a perpetual aspect of Western society, being that they want to bring Western society back to a point of feudalism. Feudalism is a system based upon fiefdom. A fiefdom is a little province within a greater territory or country that is being carved out and set up for nation building. So you're going to see them really going to try to push for this Palestinian state thing, which would be marketed as the peace treaty between Israel and Palestine, which would then add to the prophecy left in Revelation that says that when peace comes to Israel, this would happen. This is why they had to make this dude win the Nobel Peace Prize so he could be seen as the peacemaker, even though all he's been doing is killing people. You know what I'm saying? Or agreeing to have people killed. But remember, he comes from intelligence. You see what I'm saying? Which is the modus operandi of that aspect of government. There's a movie, again, there's always a movie. There's a movie that you could get, I think, on DVD now called Son of No One. You got to see this movie because it's got Al Pacino, Ray Liotta. And if you notice, these guys always play like dirty cops. You know what I'm saying? They always play like police on the brink. So this movie basically also stars the dude from G.I. Joe, Channing Tatum, and Tracy Morgan, who basically plays a young kid who grew up in Queensbridge Project, little white kid named Milk, who grew up in the project, and he happens to be the son of a cop who is Al Pacino's best friend. Long story short, the movie is basically, will show you when you look at it, is basically a expose on how since 9/11 all police activity has been about setting up false flags and murder hits through ritualistic means to test cops who have been generationally providing their offspring to the order, which is the fraternal order of policemen. You know what I'm saying? The ritual of them killing black men wholesale like that, as we talked about before on the show, is a manifestation of the ritual of Heru, in which they're sacrificing Heru to himself. You know what I mean? They playing the role of the police, in that instance playing the role of the Jews, right, who are, well, the three Jews that represent not the JEWS Jews, but the JU Jews, meaning the YU Jews, the Yehudas, which are basically going back to the Sanhedrin. When we go back in the time of Jesus, they would be the Sanhedrin and the Sadducees, who were the municipality that administrated over the less fortunate, economically fortunate people of the Roman state. These were the people who empowered people like Herod, or the line of Herod king. What made you a Herod king was that you were the administrator or the warlord that was ordained by the Yehudim to kill the firstborn of Egypt, or to kill the black Messiah, which is why Jesus had to, in the story, he had to go outside of the city and was going to the city but didn't make it because, she had to have the baby. When they say that Mary was the product of an immaculate conception, or he was a product of a virgin birth, what that means is, what they tell people is that Mary was a virgin and was not touched by a man, and somehow the Spirit of God shaped itself into a penis and then turned holy water, I guess, into sperm, and then got her pregnant, and then in that, Jesus is born. Right? That's the story that they are purporting, what happened purported for the past 2,000 years. And people believe that. Cool. What a virgin birth really means, or what a virgin birth means in lateral or literal sense, is that her mother was a virgin when she was impregnated by her father, and of which she was then born. That is a virgin birth. So basically they're saying that Mary basically did the same thing. You see, that's why Joseph was there. So even though it's a deeper allegorical mythos to activate aspects of the pineal gland, because each part of the story or each piece of the story represents something that we are physically living, right? So the manger is the barn, you know what I mean? So if you look at us living in a wilderness, you know what I'm saying, or a farm in that, then the manger or America or the world in that sense is the place where the animals are, because it's true. We live in a society of civilized barbarism in which animalistic traits are the basis of how a lot of people make money, specifically government and finance. So then the three kings that come to see Christ in that is the element of us that is on the verge of fully accepting who and what we are in that, then who accepting who and what the Creator is to us. So that's the coming king. But the baby Jesus in that is also the baby Horus, which again is also the baby potential of the full Horus, who grows into Horus, then Heru Set, and then from Heru Set into Ra Hewitt, Horus enthroned with holding the staff of Set. Set representing not evil, but the ability to deal with the judgment that comes from the rapture dispassionately, to fully serve justice or ma'at as it is produced and supposed to be given. It takes a certain type of individual to do that because, people are extreme. So the three kings in this now that come to see the Christ by following the North Star is basically the crown chakra, because that's at the top of the world in space. So therefore that represents the aspect of the three kings coming into view of that. The three kings representing the pineal pituitary hypothalamus, bringing the frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Gold is the alchemical agent. Frankincense is the spiritual essence. The myrrh is the sacrament or the earthen representation of the frankincense. So it's male and female. So this whole story that we've been doing in Nostril, then the whole thing takes place, on December 25th? That's how they put it, which also happened to be the day of the solar deity, Apollo, who is Heru. But let's say, okay, it is December 25th, 2 and 5 is 7, so again, that's the 7 chakras, the 7 seeds, the 7th level of God, which is God. So either way, no matter how you look at it, it all goes back to the beginning of everything. Everything that we're doing, propelling to the future, is based upon everything. But instead of looking at future as a ongoing road, you got to understand that that road turns into a circle. You know what I'm saying? So you start to begin only to begin to start again. So in that, if there is no end and everything is simple, is spiraled and connected in that form, then anything that puts itself on the outside of that is not a part of that, right? So there's an element within, or that is being promoted amongst black people, that, you know, extremism in the form of expression is a means of crying out or putting something out there, but reality-wise, that's not true. We shouldn't have to scream to be heard, you know? But it just depends on how you look at it, I guess. But as we built on all of this, as we've been talking, or as I've been talking, as I've been talking about it, we're still getting the same understanding or knowledge out of what it is we're building on. You know what I'm saying? So if a person, God forbid, never read a Bible or never heard about Jesus, but let's say has a metaphysical understanding of the story, once they hear it, isn't that the acceptance of the truth of that? Like, certain scholars will get into debates on whether Jesus lived or Jesus didn't live, or whether Jesus was this or this. I don't really get caught up in the mundanity of it. I know what it means for me, and I know that my great-grandmother, bless the dead, at 95, called Jesus basically from the time that she converted to it, you know what I mean, as a young girl, growing up in what was then Bayou Lafitte, Louisiana. And then from the day that I see her on the deathbed, still talking about it, that means that, to me, whether I believe that or not, she probably went to a place or created a place in her consciousness, her life, in which she really did go and created an aspect of that, or went to the place where that version of reality exists. If you say that multiple parallel universes exist, then there has to be a parallel universe in which this story happened, so that means it's true. But it may not be true. It may be right, but it may not be correct in our reality, because our reality is shaped moment by moment by what we have contributed to it. But if our contributions are constantly usurped and put into other operative modes to bring up other forms of things within us, then all we're doing is running on a hamster wheel for these people, and they using us to power lights and shit. Like, show you how they use people, or how they use people and turn it into money, how they use misfortune. This is a story with their own people. There's a guy named John DeLorean, and John DeLorean was cool with a guy named Johnny Carson. And Johnny Carson and them were somewhat aware through Bob Hope, through the USO, through the Jesuits, about the whole mind control MK program that was being developed by the Malta Knights, a.k.a. Knights Malta, a.k.a. MK, meaning MK Ultra, MK Naomi, MK Patriot, whatever they title. titled an MK program. So any MK program is basically a conjoined program that works along with different elements of government and ordinance, but is hooked up through Wall Street, because the military-industrial complex is funded by Wall Street. They're funded by Wall Street. So all of them basically have a vested interest in any Wall Street stock or anything that happens. So specifically speaking, when the stimulus stuff and all that went down, all of that was attributed to leftover money that they were still trying to hide from what I'm about to tell you with John DeLorean. So John DeLorean was like also cool with Onassis and them. Onassis and them allegedly had made a bet that they could get the government of the United States to cooperate with the Russians. That would eventually lead to glasnost shit if they would threaten a certain South-specific country, which would then force the Russians into almost a build-up, but Russia was being depleted because they had no money at the time. So Onassis Hughes, whatever, were cool with DeLorean, but DeLorean, who was cool with Carson, who was cool with Bob Hope, all of these guys were also entertainers. So they were also about, luxury and, sex and all that other crazy stuff. So, long story short, DeLorean got a great stock tip, some shit. And in the process of that, he took some of that money and, bought him some cocaine that they could do, they could go party with or whatever. Because he also at the time was financing the DeLorean, the car. So somehow or another, DeLorean wound up sleeping with Bob Hope's wife, or somebody slept with somebody like that. And the story goes that they all wound up setting up DeLorean through the FBI, through Carson, after the Johnny Carson show or whatever. And he wound up going to jail. The DeLorean, the car, which people was not buying, ironically, started being in such high demand that they couldn't produce enough to be able to sustain the market. And so when they crashed, he wound up making more money in jail than he did, with the car or whatever in that. But then when he gets out, a guy named Robert Zemeckis comes to him with this idea or whatever and wants to license the DeLorean to be able to soup it up to be in a movie called Back to the Future. And Back to the Future comes out with the Nikes, right? Remember the Nikes that Michael J. Fox had? That leads to Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. But that also leads to the creation of the Nike sneakers, remember? The ones that everybody came out with this year, the ones that you've seen in the Back to the Future Nikes. It's like they came out with the Tron motorcycle. Because part of the overall MK or Blue Beam project is to literally put human beings in a digitized, in a what they call a bio-digitized reality, in which the things that we have grown up seeing as fictional and is not like real are now so real that they could actually kill us. This, based upon the white, so-called Anglo-Saxon established parameters of society or reality, is now being swept away because now they have to use their New Age ideology to justify the genocide, because it used to be money was enough for them to do shit, but people became more and more conscious. The backlash of 9/11 was that people became more empathic and people became more aware of their emotions and more willing to express them, especially like, in the years after, And, like, you couldn't say nothing 2 or 3 days after, but once somebody let that first joke out about 9/11, it was a wrap. And that left it open for everybody to start doing the nods to what really happened with it. So the fact that they would allow a society, the speculation that they was involved with it to subsist. Not just the ceremonial stuff with the commission and all that crap that they did, just like when Kennedy got killed, just like when Martin Luther King got killed. Instead of them doing something like that ceremonial, I mean, really coming out and be like, nah, we really had nothing to do with that shit, man. They can't do that. Not to make everybody believe them. They're telling you the truth. That's why they're telling the truth so much now. Because people are just so fed up, really know, they know they can't hide it. And I was talking about Son of No One, the kid wound up becoming a cop. When he's in the police precinct, and the cop that gets the buzz on what's going on basically kind of tells him something and makes him realize all of these niggas has basically been ritualizing him. And so another cop comes in, and then he reaches for his gun in the precinct. And then the pig was like, yeah, well, watch that. What you doing right there? He said, you right about that. He said, especially in here, because if it was going to happen, this would be the best place for them to do it. It really gives you not a deeper perspective, because it's a movie, but at the same token, it gives you a more lateral view of the part of the job, as they call it, that they don't really get into with us, and how they're able to justify all of the grime. Because it's all predicated upon our degradation. Remember, prior to integration, 90% of people locked up was white. You understand? 90% up until like the 1950s when they started integrating the prisons. Because that's what I'm saying. It's broad. It's like when you paint. You either paint a big dot or a broad stroke. When you say you're going to integrate with them and you're going to be equal with them, you got to be equal in everything. So if they're torturing their people, you get tortured. If they're raping their people, you get raped. If they're gypping their people, you get gypped. And you agree with it because you want some of the benefits or the privileges of being a United States citizen. But a United States citizen is predicated upon which United States you're talking about. Are you talking about the United States? Are you talking about the United States of America? Are you talking about the United States of America and General Congress Assemble? Are you talking about United States, like big and all bold? USA, USA? They started making the difference on some labels. You could see it. Some labels say made in the USA. Some labels say made in USA. But USA is not USA on that. USA is USA. That's a place. You know what I'm saying? Where they got sweatshops and factories where they jerk at people making all of these accessories and everything for everybody else. I told you the people in India and Bahrain and Dubai that's making all of them fantastic artwork or whatever is Selenite. And they don't even give these dudes work boots and nothing. They be building all that stuff in skyscrapers with flip-flops. No gloves, rope. Like, these dudes is ill. They got these Indians, they don't know where they get that from. Because, see, like I said, overseas, certain nationalities is black. So, like, the Indians is, like, treated like black people out there. Which is why they so stush with their own. You know what I'm saying? And then the people under them are like the the people from Melanesia, the Philippines, you know what I mean? So, like, you'll have New York, and you'll have the Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, you know, Jersey, and then in Brooklyn, you'll have, like, the different neighborhoods. It's like that in terms of how they look at countries. So, like, Dubai will be like Manhattan, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, the Philippines will be like Brooklyn. And then, like, India will be like Queens, you know what I'm saying? It's all how you look at it on and on what level of the playing field you on. Because everybody's in the game, whether they want to play or not. They're in it. So now this guy's singing for you. You know what I mean? He's getting Al Green on you. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's all ritual. Didn't they say Nero fiddled while Rome burned? Didn't they say Churchill and them came out of the ritual and had tea while they was bombing before they agreed to send the people out? They finished their tea before they basically kept the whole nation on hold until they finished their tea to respond to the German invasion. Same thing they did with Pearl Harbor. Yet again, these are physical things with metaphysical outcomes that deal with the manipulation of the reality in whole around us. It's the manifestation of what it is we are dealing with every day, but not aware of. The part of us that is aware is the part of us that's focused on dealing with the day-to-day. But the day-to-day is just a reflective aftermath of these events that we talk about. Because look at where Al Sharpton is now. This dude got a show on CNN. So that's what it is, in which he is commentating on them. And I guess he's, our voice with them, but he's not ours. He's his and the people who support him. Yet we have no integrated infrastructure within our own community to deal with our own issues. We have to go out of our community to do everything. And then growing up like that gives you, for certain people, the mind state where they want to go and not come back. This is why the ghetto or the pogrom is always the same. So as we are preyed upon by every race, including our own, we only have the ability to discern right from wrong based upon our perspective of it, how we are taught, who teaches us. So to throw that off, they bring up a patchwork family scenario where everybody is raising everybody else's kid, orchestrated or put forth through the manipulation of the woman due to the spiritual, mental, and physical breakdown of the man, which results in the affliction infested into the child, which then alerts in apoptosis. The apoptosis, you know what I'm saying? So it depends on, again, how you look at it. So when I was coming up, one of the gods gave me a plus lesson on the Asiatic calendar. So when you look at what that responds to, this blew my mind because I never knew that there was a calendar that represented Asiatic people. Because you hear the word Asiatic in modern lexicon. You hear Asian. Afro-Asiatic, though, is or was a moniker that was used prior to 1945. Just like Moor, just like Black or Moor, just like whatever. But it depends, again, on how you look at it, because then when I started doing the comparative dates to the Muankon, a.k.a. Mayan calendar, as well as the Dendara calendar, it was a little ahead by 120 days, which is interesting due to the fact that the gods deal with 120. But that calendar starts with the birth of Buddha, or Buddha leaving Mecca to start Buddhism. You know what I'm saying? Because Buddhism, again, is over 35,000 years old. You know what I mean? It was practiced over here as long as it was practiced over there. It's just that everything in terms of perspective has been switched based upon the manipulation of how consciousness is oriented. So, you know what I'm saying? So it really depends on, how you look at it. Like, again, Horace Butler wrote a great book that gets into that. People should also look at Churchward's work. Churchward, Church, W-A-R-D, Churchward. His work was very definitive on that, on the origins of humankind. There's pictures of black people in that'll remind you of people you see in the hood, but they're from the old world, the post-archaeological world. The way that you know that these people is not their ancestors is that they don't go dig up their ancestors. Like, you don't see people going up and digging up Washington. You don't see people going up and digging up King George or the rest of these people. They dig up everybody else's stuff. But they gotta remember, they create the Renaissance is basically a period in which they're able to reestablish a phenotype to rally around, in which the images of black or Moors in these Orientalist type paintings depict them in a form of giving them something, or being under their feet, or being behind them, Whereas the ones that we painted were ones of us, in a sense, defending what we had from them, or teaching them something. It's all how you look at it. It's all on what position of the lesson, or what position you are in the lesson. Are you the one getting it, or are you the one giving it? Because even the one that's giving it is getting it. Because the lesson is eternal based upon the premise that we've been put in. So with these sounds, all of this is the precursor leading up to the blue beam test, which is kind of what's been going on, But these tests, again, have been interrupted based upon their establishment of some sort of rebellion against their overall agenda, which is resulting in some form of political and financial upheaval in what we today know as Europe. So as that now, the union that they worked so hard to establish, they established it to be able to get everybody into a money pit and then bleed them out in terms of foreclosures. So in that, it's the countries with the most money that are going to be able to bail out the ones without, the same way it happened over here. Only thing over there is going to be country. So the backlash in this is a rise in gas prices due to the buildup of them and their war with Iran, which is highly resonant due to the ability of them to sustain a war at this period. They're pulled out of Iraq to be able to do that. But specifically speaking, that's how or why they have to, promote this political orchestration in terms of all of these debates. Because nobody's really watching them, because nobody believes what it is they're doing anymore. The people that are participating in this government right now are the people who want to be the new people in charge of how things are now. They're not people who want to change anything. They can't. Because if they were to change this system, it would collapse in on itself. So they got to ride it out into the ultimate end due to the fact that they don't have the ability to foresee a future where they can hopefully marginalize the society. So the agenda is to pulverize the society into submission through a continuous onslaught of mental and spiritual degradation through media and imagery and fashion and things of the sort. Because it's all about making you feel like what you are isn't enough. And if it was enough, you wouldn't need it. So again, everything we need, we don't want. And everything we want, we don't need. Yet, all you got to do is associate or disassociate yourself and make a clear delineation between the two, and you'll find that things will become more clear. It's the fence-sitting, it's the self-doubt, and the self-hatred that keeps us locked in the situation. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that puts us in a state where we can't function. And then the regret after. This leads to a negative self-image. Whereas in the old society, the more you did, the more worthy you appeared, because more people were telling the truth about who they were. There was a thing called the false faith society amongst some nations like the Panahasawa and the Wabanaki and the Monacan and a lot of the Lenape, a lot of them up and down the East Coast was a part of it. And there was a loose confederation of chiefs and war chiefs and warlords and priest kings from different nations. And they all wore or represented a different lodge, and all created faces or false faces of beings that they were either representing or creating to be new. And this was a way to maintain the so-called covert bond between the different nations, even though some of those nations may be at war publicly. The colonists, a.k.a. the white slaves or Christian slaves, saw this and began to pattern themselves after that. And they used to go to places like the Green Dragon Tavern in Boston and the Bunch of Grapes Tavern in Boston and work out a lot of their plans. But they couldn't leave the state, per se, to do that. The only one that could really do shit like that was like Jefferson and Washington and Hamilton, because he was like the first Obama type. So he had the ability to, he travel and all of that. when they get into Washington's history, you don't hear about him traveling to Europe or anything like that. But at the same time, he was an esquire. And at that time, in order to be an esquire, you had to be consecrated at the temple bar, which means he was a slave to the queen as well. So this has ultimately been brought into a lot of the difference in opinion as to where or who these native tribes or these Moors were, you know. So in terms of what I've been doing in knowledge too, in terms of dialect and how a lot of the familiar iconography that was used amongst these particular tribes, like the Wabanaki, the Wataugan, the Natchez, the Micmac, the Cheyenne, Apache, Biloxi, Montauk, which is Montaka, Kushatas, Punisas, Washita, Pascualas, so-called Seminoles, I forgot the real name, Seminoles, the Sadaki, which is the Cherokee, Algonquin, Chickasaw, and the Choctaw. Those kind of were all loosely connected into what was unified as a monarchy, or was called a monarchy empire, that had its seat of it at the top in what is now parts of New York and New Jersey. And through things like the Fourth State Society and stuff like that, they began to be able to ceremonially work out some of the stuff that was plaguing them in terms of the long-range group or government. And of them, as being landlords and things like that, they had the ability to influence what was the so-called Continental Congress, which was another loose organization created through the Family of Nations, which was all of these nations kind of congruently always agreeing to a certain mode of behavior for a certain amount of time. So it used to be a millennial basis in the ancient times, and then from millennial basis it went to thousands, millions of years or whatever, and then from that to, thousands of years and then hundreds of years. And now we're in like 50s and 60s. But people used to live shorter. So if you got to like 50, 60 years old, you was like Gandalf, you know what I'm saying? Without, the homosexuality. That, for some reason, had to be injected into the whole thing by these people, which I don't understand why. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why they even needed to put that out there, that he was like that. Ian McKellen himself is homosexual. He's also a Scottish Rite. And him and William Hurt allegedly was they came up together in that whole stuff. So the premise that a society is going to be moved forward based upon something that happens technological is maladapted due to the fact that technology is dependent upon those people who are willing to militarize it. Because only maybe 1% of all technology is unmilitarized. And even that is now being, assimilated into the thing. They could put a chip or a bottle in anything. They could put a chip or a camera in anything. A piece of gum. You'd never know. Chocolate, food. You don't know. So some people obsess on that and put themselves in a position where they can't see how or why any ancient nationality or any of that matters now. It matters now more than any time because that's something that, regardless to what happens to you here, is something that you can know the truth about. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know the truth about nothing else, you don't find out the truth about nothing else in this life, you can find out the truth about who or what your people originally was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let me take a call. Peace. You want to Super Heru Radio? 757.
Peace.
Peace. What's up, G?
Chilling, man. What's good with you and the family, man?
I'm good, man. Maintaining. Thanks for calling in, man.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, man, I've been trying to get on with you, man. I wanted to build with you on something I just came across recently. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably late. But I seen this chick on YouTube that used to be in the Panthers, this chick Elaine Brown.
Yep.
Are you familiar? You familiar with her?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Agent.
Yeah, she's an agent, right?
Yes, sir. Just like Davis.
Oh man, and I'm like, she's up there making speeches and like, oh man, it's crazy. Like,
that's it.
Yeah.
They won't have a Asada there. They won't have a Asada up in there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I couldn't believe, like, you know, I did some checking and the stuff that I was coming across. I'm like, I couldn't even believe, like, how is she going to get in front of people and talk about being in the Panthers, like, when she put that stuff that she put in her book?
Yeah, because those Panthers, that they put her through a ritual hazing, mind control. It was about turning the black man into this angry, archetypical criminal that should be thrown in jail due to, at the time, the social development of the gangs that came out of the remnants of those brothers and sisters who made it back from Vietnam, who were then forced into lives of crime and all of that, who then had children who were home by themselves, who eventually grouped together and then created totems to be able to unify a spiritual base, which then became their so-called family, which would then lead the government now to look at them as paramilitary outfits or militias and allow them to create systems to deal with them the way they dealt with the Panthers, instead of using what the Panther model had set up, which was the social apparatus, which was the after-school programs, the school lunch programs. These things didn't exist until the Panthers did them. So once the Panthers did them, they had to get rid of the Panthers in order to instill it in public schools, militarize it, and then take credit for it by turning the Panthers and these people into some sort of angry terrorists, right? And then through the tactic of assimilation, get them to succumb to their lower natures and eventually renounce the shit they was in, and then marry a white woman, like in Angela Davis' case, or marry a white woman, like in Eldridge Cleaver's case, and then run for, and then become the campaign manager for Ronald Reagan. Eldridge Cleaver,
right.
Rose goes on right. Married a white woman, got flipped, Civil Max CIA flipped him, came back, became a Republican. Same way
I read that
Judge Joe Brown. Judge Joe Brown, this is how deep these niggas go. Judge Joe Brown was the nigga that presided over the Martin Luther King evidence. And he was the one who had to agree that white man did it who didn't do it, which is the ritual of the killing of the king. You always set up a patsy. The patsy is the one who you set up, so that way when you kill the king, you blame the killing on him. So where there's a Kennedy, there's a Oswald. Where there's a Lincoln, there's a Booth. Where there's a Sakanoye Yamores Mato, there's a Nikoye Suto. You know what I mean? There's always a Judas. Where there's a Jesus, there's a Judas. There's always the proxy that the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the government, the demon, the alien, you see what I'm saying? Whatever it is, they are, That's the thing that's promoting the agenda that what we see happening isn't really happening. But it's really happening. But we say that it's not happening because we don't want to look like we're the only ones who see it happen. You see? So it's perfect. It's perfect in the design because some normal, regular people don't have the ability to even notice that they're on it like that. You see what I'm saying? It's self-perpetuating. It's a virus of pseudo intellect. You know what I mean? It's a virus that makes you think you know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you really don't, because you don't really know who's talking. Is it you talking then? Or is it the voice in your head talking then? Is the voice in your head really you? Or is it, or when you was watching TV at 1 o'clock and then you saw an image of a Klondike bar, and then at 7 o'clock you're on your way home and you get a Klondike bar, would you have gotten a Klondike bar if you didn't see it at 7 o'clock and you didn't see it at 1 o'clock? You see what I'm saying? It's a continuous, this reality. It's always, is it true or not? And that's what makes people go crazy. Because in the end, you realize it's like the mail in the post office. It never stops. Would the mail stop if the government was done? No, because they created a movie called The Postman where they used the mail to start the government again. You see what I'm saying? They always got something that they want to inject into consciousness to hopefully one day inspire somebody to help bring it.
Well, when you say conscious, you say aware.
Awareness, yeah.
So some people, they don't even know that they may be conscious. They're actually more aware than those that have quote-unquote consciousness but aren't aware of certain things in terms of how they affect energy around them and how it affects them. It's on some like street smart shit, but on a different level. Because I know some real conscious individuals that, you know, are as grounded as people that sometimes don't have consciousness but are aware. Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard, man.
Yeah, but look, you got to go in on like the mind control is like that's like the main thing that they're using. You know what I'm saying, to implement their agenda. You know, and that's I feel like that's what they did to Huey Newton.
Like
while
exactly
he was in jail or something like that.
They did that exact thing to Joe Louis too.
Yeah.
To Danny Hathaway too. To Marvin Gaye too. This is how they did it. And they always set up the patsy. So with his Marvin Gaye, this is his father. You know what I'm saying? So because his father was a drunk and they used to fight, he killed him, right? So, of course, we believe that because that's what they've been promoting for the last, whatever, many years. But we'll never know. Or will we? You see what I'm saying? And that's how it goes, because once you set your path on to find out the truth, you get it. It's just that you may not be the type of truth you want. You know what I mean? So, yes, the Moors did rule the world, and the Moors did have everything, and we was on point and all of that for thousands and millions of years. But regardless of how beautiful and how great it was, it would always evolve into and turn into something else. So it could never stay in its original pristine state, because if it did, it would cease to exist, because anything that's perfect is dead. You know what I mean? The statue is perfect once it's made, you see what I'm saying? But that's it. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to do. Adam and Eve in the story, it was perfect. They would have never ate. They would have never bathed. They would have never did nothing. You know what I'm saying? So once they decided they wanted to be physical, that's when it had to be awakened to them that something else was going on in the story. So if that's the way that Creator, for some people, has allowed it to be, then that's the way it is for them. You see what I'm saying? So that's the reality that they all share and that they all are giving energy to. So there will be a Dante-type hell for certain people, because that hell that they're referring to and looking at it as that is actually some sort of realm or reality where that type of flame or fire or whatever exists. So that was they have magnetically transfixed their consciousness to, and that's what they're attracting for themselves. So, like a good white man, he said, okay, great, I'll make movies for that to reinforce that delusion on you. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'll make more movies to the point where people start dressing like that. People start being that. You see what I'm saying? That's the control. That's how it works. You know? Like, would people still look at things the same way if the TV was shaped like a triangle? Definitely not. That's why it's shaped like a square. You see what I'm saying? The TV, I mean. You see what I'm saying? Because the square boxes you in. The triangle activates. So we don't want nothing for you to look at visually when you activate. So maybe one of us should start creating TVs that's shaped like triangles. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See what happened. Like, we got to look at shit like that. Like, we got to get back to the point of, like pioneerism, where we, like, thinking about inventing shit. Yeah. I met this guy up at the National Black Theater in New York, and he had the blueprints to how to make an engine run with water. That's what I'm trying to say. But see, we have people in the community that's in the hood, that's in the grimiest project right now, figuring out how to flip some next level science project or some shit. You know what I'm saying? With no, got to keep the lights off because you never know if there's a stray bullet coming through the window. There's somebody like that right now, some kid doing that shit right now. You know what I mean? But what's going to happen is instead of somebody in our community coming to him and supporting him without trying to manipulate him, and take his ideas, steal his patents, instead of somebody like that coming to do that, what's going to happen is he's going to go to school, he's going to go to college, somebody Rhodes Scholar going to see it, white man's going to snatch him up, he's going to work for Apple. You see what I'm saying? Out of our community into this. And due to the fact that nobody helped him in our community, everybody had to dodge the bullets, you see what I'm saying? He don't want to come back. And he's right, to a degree. And that's not the white man. That's our community. You know what I'm saying?
Things will be different. Optimism, hope, change.
Right. But we got to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, no.
And that's the problem. And that's the solution and the problem at the same time. And that's what I'm saying. Regardless of how conscious we are at this stage, can you really afford to turn down $1? No. Regardless of what you know, what it is, what it's going to do, how it's going to change, whether it's not going to be real, whether it's this, whether it's that, can you really afford to say no to it right now? Especially if you got kids, got to eat? No. Because niggas ain't going to take gold bricks. You know what I'm saying? Niggas is barely trying to take these silver dollars. So I'm glad you peeping it, though, bro. There's a great book you can get called Psychic Dictatorship in the USA by a guy named Constantine. That's what I told you?
Okay.
About,
yeah, I heard of that one.
That's what I told you about, what's his name? Carson and them? That's in there.
Okay.
There's another book you can get called The Naked Capitalist, which is really a commentary book on a book that was written by one of the first quote unquote New World Order people of the modern trilateral era. And it gets into where the money was coming from and how the Rockefellers was funding people. And people who allegedly was against, you know what I'm saying, the white man and all of that. And this is where, the history comes in and people really get to see the result of where all of this is coming from. Because they funded both people, They funded all of them together. So they funded the people who was against them and the people that was for them at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for calling, man.
Yeah, good luck, man. Yeah, just keep going in. The mind control is the main thing, man. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, man, I think so too, man. It's very poignant. I don't think we as a community really look at in states that can have gun stores in the ghetto. There's always a pawn shop. There's always an ATM. There's never a bank. There's never a mailbox. You got to go outside the community to get that. So that means that we are at the whim of the municipality. But we really aren't. We aren't just exercising that aspect where we can say that we don't want to be a part of that. But we're not all kind of on the same page, you know? But again, man, thank you for calling.
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. Peace.
Peace to you, brother. (267) You want to do the radio?
Yo, what's going on, dude? Hello?
Peace, man. Can you hear me? Peace,
hey,
brother.
What's going on, dude?
Hey, King, how
What's
you
up,
doing?
man? I'm chilling, man.
Man,
Calling out of Philly. This D calling out of Philly, man.
Hey, what's up, D? Long time no hear from, man. How you been?
Yes, sir. Just chilling, man. I was chilling a little early, and I heard a little thing about George Lucas, this movie from the number.
Can you talk into the phone a little bit? I can't hear.
You know George Lucas. What's that movie? The Red Tails. The numbers he made, 19 million.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, and
yeah.
he the same dude that's down with Spielberg and all those other dudes, the dudes from Interscope, Jimmy Iovine. They all come from that same satanic church, right?
Say that last part again.
They all come from the tree of that satanic church.
Right.
Like
they're all
Spielberg, Lucas, Jimmy Iovine, and all those dudes, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what's the deal with him, with the white wife? I mean, with the black wife. He got the black wife. He going all out his way for the black movie, and now it's like, you know, we know the real deal there. Like, what's the whole scenario of him and his whole situation?
Well, he came up at a time, in terms of what I read about him and growing up with Star Wars, as part of, like, you know, growing up, everybody. Lucas, Spielberg, Scorsese, Kubrick, and another one, I forget the other. They all were young, aspiring dudes coming up in it who were always connected through their families who ran the Hollywood studios from the old days. And they were basically promised, you know what I mean, raised up to basically do what they do, you know. And these stories, which are mythos based upon our history, not ours as original people, but then ours also as all people, you know what I mean, in reality, was put forth then in the form of the myth that he did it through. So specifically speaking, he and Spielberg and the rest of them all were basically kind of groomed to be the first set of the new or modern Hollywood director, which ushered in this new era of type of films, going from, let's say, the 70s into the 80s, which is now going into the future. You understand? So they also did movies and were funded militarily at a place called Lookout Mountain. You do research on that. A place called Lookout Mountain, where a lot of Hollywood people do films for whatever government or whatever. You know, like in the beginning of Mission Impossible, where they have like the sets where they was acting like it was real, and he would walk out the door and rip off the mask.
Right.
And
Right.
they would move the set and all that. That's Lookout Mountain. All of those, that type of stuff, you know, like where they did the whole, what do you call that? Fake moon landing and all of that with OJ.
Fake moon landing and all that, yeah.
Right. They made a movie from that called Capricorn 1, in which OJ played one of the people targeted by the government. So that set him up then for what happened in the future through his relationship with Rob Kardashian. and the rest of them that basically led to, where he at and all of that now. But symbolically, you know what I mean, he also is descendant and relates to someone allegedly or whatever that they're sucking energy from. Remember, all these people have kids, you know what I mean? All these people grow up. These are like regular people who grow up and then go into that world and then become symbols instead of people. None of those people that we see on TV and listen to on the radio and see in videos, none of those people are real. They don't really look like that. They don't really talk like that. That's just...
Yeah, it's almost like they're programmed.
Right. And they have talent. We're not talking about what it is they provide, because we all need music, we all need entertainment. It's just that when you militarize it and when you make it objectified, where the only time you see a black woman on it, a dark-skinned or original black woman on it, is when she's bent over, you know what I mean, or in some strip club with some idiot is throwing money at her. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's very typical. It's very redundant. It's very low. And then when all of the songs refer to getting low, bend over, drop it like it's hot, clap it, bring it to the floor, it's always on a positive, represents being grounded, right? But on the opposite, it's also about bringing down the vibration, because they're objectifying the woman, and she's allowing the objectification to get paid to feed her family, just like he is doing the same thing. So in actuality, we're talking about a system that is operating by itself. You're not talking about a certain group of people in control anymore, or certain people targeting a certain people. It's always us targeting. We know that. You know what I'm saying? But it's why. Why? If you we so whack. See, the one thing about Red Tails is like, where was the black women at in the movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then that's crazy. Yeah.
Where was they at? So, okay, you can have the interracial thing all you want. And again, if you love a white woman, if she loves a white man, if you love a white man and you be a black woman, be in peace and love how you love. But if you are coming from the perspective, or he is coming from the perspective, you got to know, ask this person, ask this white man, ask this white woman, do you have missing time? What's your relationship like with your mother? What's your relationship like with your father? What is your family line? You got to ask things like this now, because you don't know if you guys are part of an experiment. That's how ill this thing is going, man. You have people that are sent to people to screw their life up, man.
Sent there just for that mission alone, right?
Yeah. And they don't even know. But see, the issue, this is how ill they have got humanity. They have got us so sick that we don't think that we're that important. We don't think that somebody or something like that would be trying to do something like that. Like, we're not significant enough in the world. That's worse. You understand what I'm saying?
And you know what? So, that's funny. Not to cut you off. It's funny that you say that, because I think that's the important part right there. Think about that. We don't think that we're that important, that these people will be going over and out of their way to take us down and keep us down and keep their foot on our necks. And that goes back to the, you was talking about this last week, the Planet of the Apes thing. You was talking about the Friday thing, real briefly.
Yeah, we're talking.
The old one, with the white dude with the beard.
The real one, Charlton Heston.
Right. Yeah, and it's, when you look at it, once you know the reverse side of the movie, when you see what the movie is really about, from all the hidden stuff about it, and you can tell that they're talking about us, and he was really us, and all this and all that, the black culture, and all that type of stuff, and it's like, why are they going over and like the lead ape dude, like he was going over and out his way to keep the secret alive? You know what I mean? Like, let's just keep it alive, because he knew that.
But you can't kill energy, though. You can't kill the truth. You can only make it look like something else. You can only divert people's attention from it for such time. creeped back in. Like we was on this talking about all of this stuff, like a lot of other people for years. When people were saying like looking at us like we was bugging, like oh you tripping, you on that, like people that's like wearing feathers now. These niggas is like no, you know what I mean? I look at these dudes now, like when I was trying to put you on, this dude was like some other shit. But again,
see that's the thing though, dude.
This is where, but Pete, this is where it becomes about my perspective now. Am I the type of person that's gonna try to hold this person to how they was trying to act like I was on some bullshit back then, or I'm going to try to deal with them on the up and up? And then that's when I check myself and like that's true. You know what I mean? He may be on some real shit, and I got to be able to accept him for who he is. But the question is he really on that shit now? See what I'm saying? And that's always the hesitancy when it comes to working and hooking up with people, when it comes to doing something for the liberation of us as a people. You dig? Because we have examples like Angela Davis and Maya Angelou, raging alcoholic, and these people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm supposed to, just because they wrote literary works, regardless of how much truth I'm kicking, somebody can come along and say some bullshit that don't even be true. But it's dependent on the people and their perception. You see what I'm saying? So you could
but honestly, realness always wins. Realness always.
That's what I'm saying.
See, people with sense can sense it. A lot of people are blind.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't get mad at that. You can't get mad at blind people who are blind. You got to forgive them for what they do not know. You know what I'm saying?
That's part of it.
Your realness is going to shine through. Those people like that, like the Maya Angelou's and so forth and so on, they had a day. It's coming. It's coming. All these people, it's so crazy. I even seen Shaq the other day on national TV flaunting his Illuminati ring.
Yeah, I saw that too. He's a cop.
And you think that our people still think this a game? Think we tripping when we start talking this other stuff? Oh, y'all crazy, y'all tripping. That's the shit they say in the movies or so forth and so on. No, this shit is real. This shit is real single game. This nigga on national TV showing his ring.
But you ain't seeing George Clooney do that.
Huh?
But you ain't seeing George Clooney do that. You ain't seeing Brad Pitt do that. You seen Brad Pitt with a cane, though. See what I'm saying? Because that's the Scottish Rite shit. And
that's what that was about.
This is the subtle speak. You letting everybody know he on the two-ball cane. You know what I'm saying? He holding up one side of himself because he's reaching the point where he's about to make it. Like the next movie he's doing now is World War WWZ, based on his book called World War Zombie, with the zombies, where people are fighting the zombies as like a invasion force. And essentially, he dealing with Jolie and them, allegedly about to get a next baby and some other shit. But either way, regardless to what it is, man, it's pretty much kind of set. Because by December 21st, they have to initiate the shit in the open. You know what I'm saying? Or
and that's the shit you was talking about with the chemtrail shit. They're going to use that for the holograms and all that?
Yes. They need to. I'm not saying that they're going to do that on that day, but what I'm saying is they need to sync up themselves with what everybody has what they have been hyping everybody up to say is going to be the end. Right. See what I'm saying? Because if they don't, it's going to be another Y2K, and people are going to lose total and utter faith in everything. So it's a wrap for them either way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, either way.
The Earth. They can't do that. They can't go to Earth. They can't go into space. They can't open up the Hadron Collider and go into the next universe. They can't do none of this shit, man. All they could do is be over. But to have a world without them, what they want to do is, again, destroy everything, turn it into a desolation, and then whoever's left becomes the traumatized population or breeding control of who's going to be their slave after they get out of the underground basement. Like, this is what they writ down. Like, this is not some shit. This is what Paul Wolfowitz and Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney and the rest of these niggas have written down. You people just is not reading it. Gary Hart, Bill Clinton, the whole Clinton initiative, the Clinton Global Initiative that all these niggas are doing benefits and that for, all of that is about genocidal austerity. It's all about people surviving disaster. So in order for them to function and get money, there has to be a disaster. You see what I'm saying?
Right. It has to be a disaster.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's how they run their society. So if there's not anything happening like that, we got to make it like that, and then deal with what we got ourselves into. That's what every movie is about with the government.
Mhm. Yep.
You know.
Every single movie. Yeah. That's my queen. She's crying. Come on, baby.
Oh. Peace to you and her, man.
Yeah, I gotta go. All right, I'm gonna let you go, man. I gotta tend to her, man. I'm gonna keep listening.
No
but
doubt.
Just one more question before
What's up?
for me and my before we check out. Could you just elaborate a little bit for me on the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, and just give me some like scenarios with that and the meaning of all that type of thing. There with the Keanu Reeves thing, from the Constantine all the way to the Matrix, that whole thing, and then I'm gonna let you go, okay. So you can go ahead and brush it up with that, and I'm gonna tend to that, and I'm gonna tune in next. You on Friday?
No, next Monday.
Next Monday. All right, so I'll be there for you next Monday. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fall back and let you rock after that one. I'll holler at you. Thanks a lot, dude. Keep doing your thing. Don't worry about the haters or naysayers. You got me, dog.
That's what's up, Sam. Take beautiful queen.
Really love you, man. Yep. Tell your people I said what's up. Be good.
I will. Peace, man. Yeah, man. It's about what you do, man. You can only be held accountable for the things that you do. People try to set you up for certain things and how this part of the game works, or the part of the game that we know as politics. It's all about subterfuge and the next scandal. So I got pictures of Kennedy with a young Bill Clinton who's 17 shaking hands, you know. Also, you know, there's rumors we talked about it a long time ago on a show about the origins of Jack Ruby and all of that. But my point is that all of these things are somewhat connected in the unifying factor of how the enemy is running in society. And our breaking of the mind control is breaking the delusion that someone is working directly against us. Even though they may be sending you checks every month, or you may be going to work for them every day, or whatever. It doesn't change the fact of what's really going on inherently. You know? 216, Heru Radio.
Yeah, what's up, brother? Islam on tip.
What's up, man? Peace, King. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I had some questions for you, but I wanted to piggyback after your last conversation a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that y'all was talking about the Shaq, showing off his ring or whatever. I just wanted to comment on that. I think that a lot of them stars, people like in the sports industry, in the music industry, I think a lot of them are ignorant, you know what I'm saying, to the Illuminati and stuff like that. So, I
know more about that shit than they do.
Yeah. So,
but they purposely don't try to find out, you understand?
Yeah.
They act like they want to do the knowledge here and there. But they know what they're involved with. But like I said, I'm not the one, or I don't ever want to be perceived as the one that looks at these people as like the problem. These niggas don't really have no power. They're just more like, here's the money, shut up, dance your dance, do this coke. Here's the white girl. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's it.
Right. I mean, and really, they got so much money, they really don't care about that shit, man. Like, they really, it don't mean nothing to them. We don't have the Jim Browns and the Muhammad Ali's and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's no more.
But that's what used to happen. It used to be these people used to go back and really do something. These people who are doing things are doing it for the people in their communities, which is great. But if there was a unified faction of everybody doing something for everybody in every state, which could happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But like Sutek, you know,
but if I had it, I would do it. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is that altruistic. Most people just have to get money, and that's good.
Right.
I'm just somebody who's thinking about everybody else in the sense of the austerity of our people. But most people don't even want to look black anymore. These niggas want to be inhumans.
Right.
This little picture of Lil Wayne, son, this nigga looks like, for real, like a Martian, like for real.
Lil Wayne the Gucci man, them niggas have lost their mind, man. But
like, he's gone now.
Yeah.
And it's done. And he doesn't even want to look cool anymore. That's when you know you're done.
Yeah.
He got you. And see, in mind control, when you wear a bunch of different colors like that, that's evidence, or to an outside programmer or an outside handler, that's evidence that you are easily somewhat manipulated, meaning not necessarily to direct infant control, but through suggestion and triggering, you could be manipulated. Whereas solid colors denote the person is more grounded in themselves and what it is trying to achieve in the world or those people around them. So you have to be more discerning with how you deal with people like that. This is how they look at. This is how police look at us when they're driving down the street and figure out who they're going to mess with and who they're not. You know, you got the gung-ho cops that just go out and try to kill anybody, but those are the ones that's most scared. The ones that do the most damage is the ones that's most psychologically damaged. Also, the ones that are the most ritualistically abused, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because race is the program that is used to maintain order in the term of law. So black people are the basis of the legal system. It's us. Any black kid in the hood is a 5-star paralegal. You know what I'm saying? He can tell you how much time you did for this or for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now they're trying to create a history where little white kids live that life. That's why I said, look at this movie, Son of No One, with Al Pacino. They're trying to make a new history where these niggas was in Shaolin and in the ghetto and in Queensbridge and shit when we was growing up there. This is the shit they're doing now, so it's ill.
Yeah.
And with people like Eminem and these people are used as symbols to say that that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I had a question too, man. You know, with these organizations, you know, Illuminati and all of the things that's going on, as far as, you know, the death camps and everything they got set up, and then, you know, when you do your historical research and you say that, you know, the European is going to fall and we're going to rise back up, I want to know what do you think the timetable on that is?
I think that's relative to each one of us, unfortunately.
What do you mean by that?
I haven't foreseen a history, meaning that I haven't foreseen a history or a future where I'm trying to do the calculations on this shit, man. Like an outcome where somehow or another we collectively understand what's going on and implement some sort of substructure to do stuff. But in the foreseeable future, to get to that level, every scenario is calling for the quote-unquote enemy or they to do something drastic, to unify the species mind pattern into a point that it realizes it's on the brink of genocidal extinction. See, like when the Jews was being herded up for the concentration camps, the Nazis was doing things to them all along the way to get them to fight back. That's one of the things they don't like to talk about. Now, again, I am not in any way, unfortunately I have to say this, I'm not in any way promoting Jewish Holocaust or Nazi killing of Jewish people. I'm just saying that this is what these people did or was written about that these people doing it. And that when they found these people weren't fighting back, they did a little bit more to them. So by the time they got them to the point where they starved them out and did everything else, they was like, you know what, these people don't want to live. They don't have the spark of life, so we're naturally dominant. So what we feel about them is right. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing going on right now because it was the same people brought over there and was connected through this white thing. I've seen pictures of the Ku Klux Klan on Ferris wheels and full garb in Coney Island. I've seen women auxiliary Ku Klux Klan. You know what I'm saying? And these people are related to the same people who we think is cool, these Angelina Jolie people and these other people. And they have black kids. So what are they doing? Them black kids ain't black like us unless they get around us. So in the ultimate future, the only thing I can foresee going down is these people or us unifying based upon some drastic aspect of them. Because the activation that's going on in the melanin is happening with us collectively. Yet none of us are at the situation yet. So we are able to create, let's say, a unifying psychic strike. That can't happen. Because we're too divided into what we think we are. We don't even know what we are.
So I mean, like, give me a timetable, because I was in the Memorial, and I was in the talking to some of the Morris brothers, and we was talking about, a lot of the things that's going on, and they were saying that, for us to raise our own civilization up, theirs gotta fall, and we were talking about how their civilization falling. But I'm trying to get an outside view on the timetable on that, because right now I can't see it. Like, it's hard for me to see it. You know what I'm saying?
By the time we could get to the status of somebody like, let's say, the Palestinians, somebody like that, and that's a fictitious nationality, and that's just basically black people from Palestine. Until we could get to something like that, that's probably going to take another 10, 13 years. Then after that, but that's like the whole black people, you know what I'm saying? The activation of us, all of that shit is happening now. So the shit that we are talking about doing or building on is a reality that we are hoping. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping for the Creator to return and manifest its will on earth. So me, as the Creator, I'm going to do that in a manner that's conducive to how I live my life. Because that's all I could do in the moment until something in the world around me has presented itself in a unifying function to move on everything collectively. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that way, it's probably not going to be everybody.
Yeah.
It would have to be those of us who want to be a part of that. But you remember, most of us make money from these people. Think about how many years it's been since these rappers been throwing money and shit in our face, or how many times you've seen money on TV and people living lavish and you not. You know what I'm saying? And why is it always white folk? And then after Cosby, it was black folk. But then as black folk, when you looking at these people, you like, yo, these niggas might as well be living next door to me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's mind control. It's all set up to make us doubt our true potential. And your true potential is to do what you're supposed to do. But I don't know what that is. I'll know what that is if you put it in the world enough for me to recognize it and for me to rally and come together with. But until then, I can only build up what I'm doing, and you can only build up what you're doing, and we support each other when we can. You see what I'm saying? Like in Superfly. When he came in the Whack Panthers, was like, yo, you want to stop selling drugs or whatever. This nigga was like, look, nigga, if you ready to go get the white man right now, let's do it. This nigga pulled out the gun and said, no, then I'm going to keep selling these drugs, and I'm going to keep flipping these hoes until you is ready to do something. So don't tell me what to do. And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying with us. That's why me or you, we can't tell nobody what's. All we could do is build on what we're building on. I can't tell nobody, hey, you whack if you a part of this, or you not really conscious if you eating this or doing that. Because I've seen some wild shit, man. So I got to accept consciousness as it comes. You know what I mean? As opposed to always expecting it to be a certain way. Because that's how you get got.
Right.
You know? So it's really, the time frame to me, brother, is really based on how you perceive time, how you promote your energy in that time, and how you translate that time into some form of artistic endeavor that is going to give you an outlet for whatever it is you may be experiencing. You know what I'm saying? Because in that, the amount of time that it takes you to produce something like that, that is the time that you are not only working on the painting, but you're working, or whatever the art is, but you're working on an aspect of yourself symbolically. You know what I'm saying? So when you get it to where you want it, you're probably at a stage where you could receive something from it. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
So thanks for calling, brother.
All right, thanks, bro.
Thank you, man.
All right, as well.
Peace. All right, guys. You're up. Sure, annoying. I'm going to try to get somebody else.
That's all you want, bro?
770 Mr. Heru Radio.
Peace. Peace to you and your family. And
How you doing?
I do want to say I'm so grateful that you put your ego to the side when you do your show. I really, really appreciate it. Real quick, I was watching E.T. and they had a thing on the People's Choice Award, and it was shaped like a female. What kind of ritual do you think that they're doing with that?
E.T. is the archetypical version of a degenerated Twa, which is original man, original woman. That's like small. That they wanted to promote as an archetype for black people in the future. You know what I'm saying? So the long neck was symbolic. He's a male, so the long neck represented the long black penis that would extend. You know what I'm saying? Or rise to a 90-degree angle. So E.T. again. Why they also used to put pictures of him next to Michael Jackson. Remember that? You see pictures of E.T. and Michael together. That was an image of the same way you see a picture of Michelangelo's picture of God and man, where the two fingers is touching. You know
with the alien. Okay. But hold on, I was talking about entertainment tonight. You know, they did like a little thing. I didn't see the People's Choice Award, but the People's Choice Award was actually like a vagina.
Yeah. Just like the the award with Chris Brown was flying over the crowd and stuff. And Beyonce performed. It's the same.
Okay. I didn't see the award show. So I was just wondering what was going on with that.
Anytime they do an opening like that, that's a gateway. The vagina is a gateway, so the energy that they're promoting is the giving. They want people to give the energy to the performers. You see what I'm saying? So in that, then, the arena, then, the setup of the arena has to be then a woman because they have to attract the energy and then, you know, send it to wherever it is they send it and do whatever it is they do to it. Because then technology-wise, they do different things to perpetuate different machines and things like that. They got so much stuff, they don't even know how it works. You know what I mean? They got stuff that they could work, but they need us to do it. But if we did it, we would then have to, like in Red Tails, like in that movie Red Tails, only black man could fly a plane like that. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But at the same time, that became the archetype of what? An all-black movie. But what made it all black was that it was all black done by a white man. But that was another movie done like that before. Color Purple was like that. You know what I'm saying? But Steven Spielberg was blackmailed into doing it by Oprah and them. He said that they were going to all black people tell him not to watch any of his films if he didn't make Color Purple for them. And then he did, and shit blew up, and that blew up Danny Glover and everybody else. And that whole class rose up, right? And they came up under these people. And under them now came the Gabrielle Union and the Mars Chestnuts and the rest of them, right? They came up. Now under them is going to be the next one, right? But they're perpetuating the same system. And then above them you got James Earl Jones. You know how he married. So, again, it's not about the white and the black thing, but it's about money marrying money. So if there's a black rich guy and a white rich guy, they're going to want their kids to get together regardless.
True.
Except the white guy is always going to hold on to his white shit. You know what I mean? The black guy is going to, in a lot of cases, try to be as white as possible. You see what I'm saying? And be okay with his daughter doing that. That's why you see all of these TV shows or whatever now with the black woman and the white man. But that's what they want. They want you, black women, to look at them and find them attractive based upon us being dead. The little son. That's what they want. So they want your love by proxy of your imposed hatred and alleged disdain of me. But in the end, that ain't gonna work. Our birth rate is still correct. Right? Our birth rate is still higher. It's still 11 of us, 2 of them. With the abortion, with the killing, with the black on black crime, with the jail, with the gay shit, the birth rate is still 0, regardless of what they doing. That's why when you see anybody who got twins, remember how twins used to be rare?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I used to be rare. You never used to see people with twins. Like, oh shit, a twin. It's like seeing a midget. Like, oh, right?
Yeah.
Nope, not no more. Octomom flipped that. That's the line. That's how they tell on themselves. They know that one embryo will never take because one time to try to create the devil is not going to work. I'm not saying that embryonic children go through as the devil, but it is to say that their embryo is being manipulated by people. So you don't know what they're putting in that egg. You know, and then they make movies. Then they rub it in your face and make movies about it. Bless the child, the good son, right? Mm-hmm. Then you pay money to see why your child is the devil, and then Rosemary's Baby, right? Damien, right? Yep. Then when your child is the devil trying to sacrifice you, you tell people, "Oh, you crazy? That's not real." But then they got the ticket to the movie, and and that's what I'm saying. It's like the lunatics is running everything, and everybody is like, it's okay.